Okay, I got 1 o'clock and we'll go ahead and get started. This is our CAD Advisor Group meeting for July 17th, 2021. And our next meeting is September 21st. And as a reminder, we are recording this session. So we always record it. I try to get it out by the next day out on the GeoPack blog so that anybody that's missed it, or if you want to pass it along with people in your group, you can go out to that blog and that video will be there. Class schedule. All we have right now is a Road 1 for, and it's the SS10 version. And that's next week, the 23rd to the 26th here in Jefferson City. It's still scheduled, still planned on being taught by Shannon Smith. And there's 1 seat available.
Could have just said the best. They knew who you were talking about.
Huh? What's that? Oh, I'll be teaching too. But there's 1 seat available if anybody has anybody that's new that needs the Road 1 class. I have them sign up mo.u, and whoever gets there first gets it. But we're only allowed to have 12 right now with the social distancing, so we're set up for that. And again, as always, there's available online classes: the Concept Station, Intro to MoDOT Hydrology and Hydraulics, MoDOT Hydrology and Hydraulics, Power GeoPack, Microstation Fundamentals, and the Power GeoPack Road 1. They're all out there for online credit. This month we have Chris Schwantner. He's going to talk about Projectwise. And let me go ahead and stop sharing and give Chris that power to share. You should be presenter now, Chris.
Yep. Just trying to get what I want to share.
Really, Bill? That's it?
Yeah.
No other introduction?
I got.
That's all you got?
Yeah, I got more stuff to stop.
Bill, I would have said something like special guest or something like that. No.
I know I was going to go all out, but I just didn't.
No Projectwise for you.
Just kind of move some stuff out of the way.
Like Bill's Projectwise access.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm just going to talk today. Well, my name is Chris Schwantner, as you probably already know. I'm the Projectwise administrator here at CADD Support. This is just going to be kind of an informal type of discussion about different topics that I've ran into and some things that are coming down the pipe. So you kind of look forward to that. So the first thing that I want to talk about is a little bit about the connection client. I know a lot of you are using it now because it's the only way that you can actually get into Projectwise. There's some things I kind of want to show you of how this actually operates, or things that kind of make it a little bit easier, and what you can use it in the future. Right now, as you can see in my taskbar down the very bottom, the up arrow shows the connection client actually active in this area. Dealing with a lot of users, sometimes it's easier to actually put this particular icon in the taskbar down here in the bottom. And the way that you would do that is you'd actually right click in the taskbar area, go to the taskbar settings, and it will kind of give you an option down here. It says select which icons appear on the taskbar. And then it will do a search to see what you have. And then you can actually click on that. And now we have that located in our taskbar. So sometimes it's a lot easier to take a look at that, make sure you're actually connected. Because if you're not connected, you won't be able to access Projectwise, and that's the way how that works. Now, sometimes, usually that when IS pushes some type of patch to the machines, sometimes the machine won't automatically log you in, and then you actually have to go ahead and click onto the sign in, or actually sign and choose your name. This is sometimes an occurrence. Can't really isolate what causes that, but it just does. But luckily your name will be saved in there, and then you can just go ahead and log into it. There are some times when the connection client will come up saying, sorry, can't access this, or give you an error message. This particular window is actually kind of a web-based application. So you can actually right click on this, on the area that you'll get where you get the error message, and then you can select the option back, and it will bring you right back to this option. So you get the back right here, and then you can actually choose your email again. So that's an easy way to kind of fix that. And a lot of new users that actually start using it, they run into this issue. Some other things that we have kind of deals with the connection center. So if we actually go into this dialog box, or you can even do it from the right mouse button, if you click on the connection center, you'll get an option to actually sign in. This will actually bring you to the Bentley site itself. And the reason why I'm kind of showing you this, because in the future, we're going to be using something called Projectwise 365, dealing with collaborations between outside entities and MoDOT. So this would be the place that you're going to have to be working with in the future. As you can see, we have projects here, and that's kind of what the area that we're going to hit, or going to be talking about later on in the future. But you can see there's different webinars that you can kind of attend, other information about that. There's Bentley communities. So there's a lot of stuff for you to actually take a look and see what's available for you to actually see at the Bentley site. So that's pretty nice to have that there. Let me close this out of the way. All right. Now a lot of this, I'm going to do some of this live demo stuff so you can kind of see how this works. The first one is showing the desktops to project folders and files. There's many times that you're out here, and I'm just going to pick on St. Louis since I'm from St. Louis originally. If you had a couple jobs that you were working with, and say you were working in this particular job here, this 2180, that's a bad one. We'll go. So it looks more like this. Say I'm working with these files right here, but then I'm working on another job that's in a different county. So how can I get to those a lot quicker? You can go to the pull down menu, and you can actually choose that particular file that you're in before, or what you can do is that you can either pick the job or any folder that you want, and I'm going to just choose the top folder, and I'm going to copy that, and then I'm going to paste the shortcut on my desktop. So here's that shortcut to that, and I'll just show you another one. I'll come down here and say I want to do another one here. Paste as a shortcut. So I'm going to go all the way to District 10 right here. I'm looking at these jobs here, and I realize, hey, I got to go over to this particular job. I can double click it, and it will bring me back to that particular job. It's a nice, easy shortcut. I don't have to kind of go through the directory structure to find it. I can also do that with an actual file itself. So if I want to get to this plan sheet, or this PDF, I can copy it and paste as a shortcut, and I'll go to another location. I'll go to this sheet, the PDF, and it brings me right to that PDF. Now it doesn't automatically launch it because it doesn't know what I want to do with the file, but at least it puts me in that location that I can actually work with that particular file. So kind of a nice feature that I'm not sure everybody kind of knew about that. So it's a lot faster to go around that. Some other things that I'd like to talk about is the search option. Sometimes you have a file out there that you have it, but you don't know where it's located. You can actually go ahead and search for it. And there's two methods. The easiest method is just using a document search. This document search, there's a lot of different fields you can fill out. Normally what we'll do, and we'll just do an example. So I'm looking for one of these plan sheets here. So I'm going to just look for a star 475 like that. And I'm going to tell it to look in. If I don't tell it to look in, it's going to look everywhere. So I can either go that route, or if I choose the search option at this point, choose document search, it'll automatically fill that in for me. So I don't have to look for all the counties. I can just pinpoint a certain county that I'm interested in. So I can fill this out and do a star 475, like so. Show the results in a new window and apply it. Oops, I put a star at the end. So in my other window, you can see that it's identified those particular files. So kind of nice, easy way to actually find or locate files that you know that you have, somewhat what the name is, and then you can identify it and find it. Now, if it's some other location, you can always right click on that and open that folder, and it will bring you right to that particular job to that particular file. So nice little feature. Some other things that talk about are, say, for instance, like I want to get to the attributes for this particular file and I want to populate it around. I know a lot of you have already done this, but for those of you who don't know, you can either right click and go down to properties, or if it's highlighted, you can hit the space bar and that will call up your information about the file. So you can see I have attributes assigned to this, and I want to populate that to the other files, which these two I want to have the same attributes. So I can right click on that, do the attributes, do a copy attributes, so that copies all the attributes. And then I can highlight these two files, attributes, paste those attributes, yes to all. So then if I take a look at the other attributes, the other files, you can see they're in there. So you can see how that works nice and easy that way. So that's about with the attributes. So that's kind of a nice little kind of trick that you can do. Some other things that we've seen also is that if you ever get this command window, there's a couple options that create this kind of error message. The error message means that it's actually trying to start the Power Geopack. However, there is no T drive that's on the machine, so you have to make sure that you are mapped. And in the future, if we work from home and you're on a VPN, you're going to have to ensure that that's actually an active T drive. A lot of the users ran into this issue when we were during the COVID time when we were actually working from home. But this also applies to you. Sometimes, like I said, there's a reboot that occurs or an update over the weekend, and sometimes a drive is not mapped, the T drive, or say your logon script that's used is not running correctly and it doesn't map it. The other time you would get this type of command window is a workspace profile that's incorrect. Our workspace profile now that's only being used, and I'm going to go to this one, would only be the annotation. And that's the way how it's set up now to work with a Power Geopack. If you have an SS2 or older file that you're bringing up that has some type of line style scale being used, you'd get that same message that you'd get a command window saying that it can't open or can't find the macro. So in order to change the profile, you actually have to have read-write access. We've had a couple interns that have tried that, and since they didn't have access to that particular file, they can't change that workspace profile. However, they can copy that file to a folder that they have access and change the attributes at that location or the profile. So, okay, some other things that to talk about are new employees. When we get new employees, it's kind of a multi-step process in order to actually get them to get the right access. The first thing, besides having the MicroStation or the Power Geopack code and the connection client, they have to first sign into the connection client with their email. At that point, that actually creates their account on the hosted environment at the Bentley site. At that point, once that's created, then they can go ahead and actually log into Projectwise. They will get an error saying that they can't send the information to PW Access Group, and it's this kind of message right here to the right. And that's so that it actually creates their ID within Projectwise, and then we can actually modify their ID so that it actually works and assign them the proper access to the location that they're at. And that's kind of why we have the additional information, the user ID, email, full name, district, and division, so we know where to put that user. So this is really important for new users and interns. If people come back and their IDs still exist there, they will not get this error message. So. All right, let's take a look at this. Removing folders. As you know, we have a restrictive part of Projectwise is that we don't allow deletion of folders just because of the ramifications that can happen. And restoring files or folders is very, very difficult in Projectwise. So that particular functionality is not allowed. However, there is an ability for you to rename a folder. So if you do have a folder that you want to be deleted, you can either rename it to something that you can use, or you can include the word delete in the file in that folder name. So once you do that, I usually run a script like once or twice a day, and it locates those particular folders with that word delete in it. And then we'll go ahead and then we manually delete those. So, okay, now let's talk about deleted files and corrupted files. There's two different types of methods that are used for restoring stuff like this. When we delete a file, or when you delete a file accidentally, it can be easily restored. We have a method within Projectwise on the administrative side that actually can restore a file back to its original location, and nothing has changed. The set is not destroyed. It comes back exactly the way that it was deleted. The only problem that you run into to this is if you go ahead and you recreate that file in that same location and then you want us to restore it. That's where you run into issues. Now, if the file is actually corrupted, that means that there's nothing that you can do by getting a file that you just deleted, or you have to go back like a couple days. That particular method has to go through the Bentley site. We usually fill out a ticket, and it usually comes back to us between like 1 to 2 hours, and then we can actually get the file restored. If the file is restored, the file is usually will always be placed within, it's called the ZZ Restore. It's not for ZZ Top, but it's the ZZ Restore folder. And there'll be a service ticket, and it will be located in there. And then what we usually do is we'll have the users, whoever got the file restored, to open the file by itself and to acknowledge whether or not that file is actually the right file that they want as far as the data being in it. At that point, we will kind of import that file back into the set of the file that was actually corrupted. And so what it will do, will replace the bad one with the good one, and then when you open that out, you'll get the restored file. And so everything will be correct. You won't have to do anything, and no one have to do a ref scan to get the set correct. It's all already done for you. So, but it's a little time consuming, but it works really good. All right, renditions. If everybody's not aware of this, everybody has read-write access to the contract plans location, especially for creating renditions or the PDFs. One thing is, there are certain things about the contract plans location that you can't overwrite existing PDF files using the rendition method. It won't do that. Files can be deleted in the review state only. Once it is signed and sealed and it moves to the next stage, which is where the project manager actually signs and seals the PDF, it becomes read-only even to them. So that it can't be modified. It has to be deleted, and it has to be either deleted by administrator or by the review section in headquarters. They can back it back into the review state. So that is one thing to kind of be aware of on how that works. Some other things with the rendition is that not only can you create renditions or PDFs for the contract plans, but you can also create a PDF for check plots. And let me go back and let me kind of show you that. So I'm going to use my shortcut, brings me back to this area right here. So if I have a PDF, and I'm just going to use this test plot since it's pretty small, I can create the rendition of that particular one. It has a border in there, and I can do the contract plan submittal, or I can choose the option that says the watermark draft. So from there, it's automatically, when I hit the submit, and it's going to say that's going to email me. That's good. But what's going to happen is that the PDF is actually going to be, the DGN is being submitted to the host environment, and a PDF is being generated, and it will place it back into this same working folder with the same name, except it'll have a PDF extension. So I'm going to wait a little bit for that. Let me take a look at my email. That out of the way. It's taking a little bit. Some other things that I showed you also with the rendition is that I am working right now on another method, another type of profile. Right now it's called ZZ Test. And what this does, I have a shape that's out there kind of signifying kind of a fenced area. And then when you submit it, it will kind of create a plot or a PDF of that fenced area, as well as give me a date stamp of that PDF, which is kind of nice to have. Now, depending on how many plans are being submitted right now for the underneath the contract plans, that's what's kind of tying it up. There we go. So here's the PDF that I created initially, just for the check plot, and I'm gonna open it, and I happen to have Bluebeam, which is another type of thing that will be coming out maybe in the future for everybody, but we're right now in the early stage of just getting for the project managers. But as you can see, it's a PDF. It doesn't have the seal in there anymore, and it says draft, and it is a full size PDF, 34 by 22. So it is a D-size PDF. So that's kind of nice. If there is another need to have something like this, but without a draft or something else, just let me know, and we'll see how easy or hard it can be to actually do that. So I'm going to go into this other one, and I'm going to do read only. Now you're probably asking me why I'm choosing read only. And the reason why I'm doing that is that when I actually get out of the file, as you can see, this is that fenced area. I can get out of the file. When I open the file as read only, I don't get prompted to check the file back in. I don't have to free it. So it's an easier step to do that. So another method that you can use, and I'm just going to show that you can do multiple renditions. And I'm going to do this again. I'm going to try to do the rendition. And for both of those PDFs, I want that not to be in the contract plans. I wanted to go ahead and do the watermark on it. And this time, instead of the folder location where the default location is where the folder that I'm opening the file, I'm going to browse, and I'm going to put it underneath the check prints. And I'm going to submit it again. And it's going to submit those two DGN files so that I get the PDF, and they will be located in here. So you can see how I was able to choose multiple items there. Only time this causes an issue is if you have a file that has multiple borders. If you have multiple borders, like if sheet 7 was a multiple bordered file, when you do the create rendition, you would actually have to choose, instead of single, you'd have to choose multiple borders. So that's kind of important. That's the only thing that differentiates those two types of files. So especially if you do cross sections or you do quantity sheets, anything that has multiple border files in there. So let's take a look and see if it's there. And there they are. There's the two ones I created. As you can see, they're there. Okay, let's see what else we got going on. Okay, like I said, when the rendition actually gets created and the PDF is already there, you cannot, especially for the contract plans, you can't override it. However, if you have another version of this one, say this one, and you created that draft, you will actually override it. So it will overwrite that. It has no problem with that. Just underneath the contract plans, we don't allow that. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about the ORD Projectwise environment. As you probably already know, Bill's been talking about the ORD for quite a bit. I know everybody's been seeing a lot of videos and stuff. I'm just going to show you a little bit about what's happening on the Projectwise side of it. It is a new data source, so we will have an electronic plans for Power Geopack, and we will have an independent one for the ORD. And that's just because the environments are totally different the way how they're set up as far as it's being launched. Projectwise with ORD is kind of going to be using something called a managed workspace. It means that the files that are needed to actually run are downloaded to the local machine. And all the files that are brought to your machine are actually within Projectwise. So what that allows us to do is actually to eliminate the T drive. The T drive will no longer be needed. So you could actually work, we'll just say from home, and all the files that you need will be actually downloaded to your machine, and then the application can run without having a T drive mapped. So no performance issues going that way. So everything will be local. So some nice features with that. The projects are now going to be called work areas. There are multiple divisions that are going to work within the same area, within that same project. Right now, we have different groups. We have right-of-way, survey, design, construction. Everybody has their own little area that they work with. And what needs to really happen is that we need to put everybody into one pool so that when we archive a particular project, everything that we need is actually inside that location. So let me kind of show you how it looks like so you can kind of get an idea. I'm going to close out of this. And this will be renamed eventually once we get to that point. And let me. All right, so here we are. The contract plans is basically the same, nothing's changed. The districts are now, we have 7, so we're kind of consolidating the districts that had other regions to it. So Southeast and Southwest will only have 1 location, as well as the Northeast. So those 3 locations will be all combined into 1. As you can see right now, instead of like we have the design survey, all we have is projects at this point. This level may change. There may be another, besides project, there may be another entry in there, but at this point, there's only projects. So say for instance, like this central district, I'm going to go into one, see and the projects, the work area, you can see that it looks a little bit different. It looks like kind of like an X that has different colors on it. So this would actually be the work area, and within that work area, we would have a location for bridge, construction, design, and survey. Now, each one of these locations has a designated access that individuals in the survey party will have access to write within that location, but everybody else would have read-only, and that also applies to design, construction, and bridge. So everybody will have their own little area that they will have access to, and then other divisions or units can't go in there and corrupt their files. So everything is nicely protected from that. Also to include it in that area would be also estimates, environmental and historical preservation items, and electronic deliverables. So everything is there as a nice bundle. It can be archived in that kind of manner. And the way that we actually get to that and to actually do that is that we kind of have an application kind of like the start job, except it's actually part of the Projectwise environment. And so just to give you an idea on how we set that up. So if I have another work area that I want to have underneath the Benton, we would go create a new work area. And then we would choose the template. So depending on where we're at, and this may be something that we may be using the power users to do as well. But you would choose the central district here. And then we want to make sure access control, because there's already in my template for each one of those districts already has the proper access for those users for that district. You do next, you give it a name, and I'm just going to give it like that. And I'm going to tell it to go ahead and use the storage location, and that's kind of important. So that if you're in central district, you'd use the same location for storage where all the files are kept, and it's just so that everything's in sync. There's other folder options that you don't really need to. We have some permissions, but that's going to be overwritten by our access control. And click on finish, and then it knows what it needs to do, and it will start building that environment with all the proper files, all the access to construction, same as to bridge, to everybody. Even the environmental people have their own access assigned prior to this. So it's nice and easy that the person that actually creates this, or this wizard, won't have to worry about that. So we just kind of let this finish up a little bit. If there's any questions, feel free to ask. Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? All right, so it's done. like so. And as you can see, it created, we have a bridge environment, we have design and so on. We have, it doesn't mean that you can't make additional folders below that. All it does is sets up a template, and that's kind of how it's set up right now. Underneath the plan sheets, as you can see, we've just kind of created a kind of a rough layout for the plan sheets, but that can always be changed and modified as well. This is just kind of a where we're at right now, but things are still kind of in a point of where it's still being changed and modified to make it work better. So I know Bill's got some other things that he wants to talk about this. I think we still have certain ways of trying to figure out or not figure out, but just basically how to set things up properly to make it a nice transition. As you can see, all the other jobs that you had in there before from Power Geopack are no longer carried over. So there's probably a very clean now environment. As far as people coming over, it's not going to be a mass change to everything going from Power Geopack to ORD. It's kind of going to be a gradual thing. I don't know at what point or what the percentage has to be done in order to kind of leave it in Power Geopack, and that still is open for discussion. I think we haven't come up with that at this point. Hold on, I saw a message. I didn't.
There was a chat.
Yeah, I can't see it when I'm.
Chris, does the estimate folder take the place of the current specs and estimate folder?
That was kind of one of those things that it can, but I think we're still going to keep that. I still kind of have to deal with the review group up there. I think it's just to kind of get maybe a starting point. Like I said, those folders they're not in rock or anything like that, so that can still change. We may not use that. We may need to add more. So that's the point where I'm kind of showing you guys so that, you say, hey, it would be nice to have this type of folder in here as well, because, we use that. We can always add it or remove it. I mean, a good question.
Still looking for input, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Input's always important. Maybe do we have an
Got another question.
Gosh darn, that thing just goes away. Let me.
Do you see it? You want me to read it?
Hold on, I'm doing it now. Okay. But do we still have an export PDF in order to combine them? Well, it depends. You're talking. This is Shannon's question about the export PDFs to individually in order to combine them into one PDF booklet. Yeah, unfortunately, it is that way. The ICS server that actually does the PDFs can't bundle them that way. I'm working on something once we get into RD that the users may be able to dump files in a certain location, and it will bundle it like in a booklet. But right now, that is the only way. I wish there would be an easier way for them to do that, but there just isn't. I think it just gets too complicated on their end. Okay. Trying to think of anything else that may be useful. That's kind of all that I had for the PowerPoint, unless somebody had any. Yeah, I mean, it's nice that you can actually not have the T drive mapped with the this new version of ORD. Like I said, a lot of times that you may have bad connection at times. This would kind of help with that. The first initial time that you actually open a file, that's the point where you'll actually get the full workspace environment. And the workspace environment is like all this stuff right here, all the workspace, all that's going to come and be placed on your machine within the Projectwise location, and it's going to refer back to that. And the nice thing about having the managed workspace is that, say, for instance, Chad goes in there and realizes that we need some additional line styles that need to be added. He can update that particular environment, and the next time that you open up Projectwise and open up a file that it will recognize. It does a quick scan of the files that you have on your machine, and if there's an outdated file, it would automatically download the file that it needs so that you would get the update, which is really nice. Nice feature that that you can get that instantly then when you're working with a file. And that doesn't mean that you once a day. It happens anytime that you open a file, it's going to scan. So Chad could be doing this throughout the day, making changes, and you can get the changes immediately. So nice feature for that. Trying to think of anything else that may be of interest. Bill, I think that's about it.
Any more questions on that, you think? Anybody? All right, Chris, I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Okay.
Wait, I guess I gotta make myself.
I stopped sharing, so you'll get it.
Thank you.
And you can always send me a text message or an email or a Teams chat if you want some additional information. I'd be more than happy to give it to you.
Thanks, Chris. That was pretty good. Next thing I'll talk about is the OR updates that we've got. Really working on this plotting, printing thing that we got going on. Trying to get that figured out. There's some videos that I'm still working on for the advanced cross sections and end area volume stuff that I've got. The classes are pretty much together. So I don't know a date that we're going to be pushing this stuff. And like Chris was talking about that whole structure and everything, there's still things we've got to iron out in that, but we're getting close to it. So let me see. Next month's scheduled presenter is going to be Steve. Steve Atkinson's going to be presenting. I have no idea what it's on, but we'll have a pretty good show. Next thing is talking about this. We have, let me see, a couple vacancies still down here at CADD. I think they're interviewing for the ArcGIS position soon, like tomorrow, I believe. And then the drainage, we're still looking for a candidate for that. So any questions over this month's WebEx? Anything at all? If there's nothing, then I'll see what I say that was September 21st. Y'all have a good one. Thanks.